So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this discussion about the outlook and perspectives of intelligent automation within the customer operations area. I am Enrique, and I will be your host during the next 45 minutes. So our purpose today is to discuss how customer operations area, are using intelligent automation and emerging technologies for two purposes. First, to improve the interaction with their customers, and second, to look for new ways of efficiencies and cost reduction. Both topics, savings and engaging with customers into meaningful and better interactions, are two hot, trendy topics today. To have this conversation, we will have a representation of some of the major forces driving digital transformation in the companies. So we will have a representation of the business on the company side, looking at how they are implementing and driving these changes. We will have also a representation from the technology and vendor providers, speaking about the technology and what they have and what it implies, bringing them to life and in the organizations. And I myself will be proudly representing the consulting side. The customer will be in the middle, and you all attending this meeting can also participate, unfortunately, not in a dialogue, an open dialogue, the one that we are going to follow, but you can always pose questions using the channel that we have. So as they feed them to me, I will try to slip them into the conversation. So without any more delay, let me please introduce our panelists, our guests here. So representing the business area, the business side, we have Ioan Sandru. Ioan Sandru is Digital and IT Director for E.on Romania. Ioan has been leading and driving a huge transformation of E.on, turning it or trying to make it, or with a transformation journey to make of it a modern digital energy supplier of the future. Among the many efforts he has been involved, he has covered core processes, but also the interaction with customers using different or new alternative channels. So in the corner representing the technology and vendor side, we have Martin Stevenson. Martin is the head of the telecommunications industry for EMEA, for BluePrism. Prior to that, he was also responsible for many global telecommunications account from EMEA. And before that, he also brings with himself an important experience, decades of experience in the improving customer operations using RPA, using machine learning, analytics, CRM, etc. And I myself will be representing as well the consulting side, as I've been also leading a major transformation project in Telefonica, Spain, which had to do to the re-engineering of the customer care operations with a special focus on the contact centers for the enterprise segment, but also for the residential segment. So without any more delay, I would like to start asking you, Ioan, about your vision about customer operations. What are you doing and what kind of technologies you are using in this transformation journey that I was mentioning before?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I hope you hear me well. Well, we started in this from two perspectives. First of all, looking at people, because our aim as a company is that we want people to do significant jobs and to have a really valuable input and not do redundant work and unvaluable work. Second, of course, looking at the customer excellence and the customer operation, we are trying to optimize as much as possible our cost, as you said. And that's why we ended up in one of our development streams related to digital transformation and to the organization transformation is this area of automation. When we are talking about automation, multiple technologies here. So we are looking from data side, but also mainly we are focusing on RPAs and chatbot technologies in order to first of all, to automate the interaction of our customers with us and try to get as much as possible input from the customers to these technologies. And second of all, of course, looking in the inside view, we are trying to streamline our processes and make people, as mentioned before, really do valuable jobs and not inputting data all day long or do jobs that they are not in love with at the end of the day. So this is the vision. Again, we are trying to make people happy, basically doing really valuable jobs. And second of all, of course, as much as possible, use the current technologies to automate processes and improve them.
Martin, from your perspective, what is the status and the maturity of intelligent automation, no, to allow that transformation that Ioan was describing?
Yeah, thanks, Enrique. And it's an interesting question because I think we are now at a position of maturity with RPA as one of the technologies that makes up what we call intelligent automation. So we have many examples, E.on included, but also in Telefonica, which you and I have worked together on, where RPA is very mature and the client has really understood how to apply it and when to apply it and what kind of returns to look for. But we're also now, I think, maybe 9 to 12 months into a real bringing to life of intelligent automation, where intelligent automation means the combination of RPA and then technologies like machine learning, artificial intelligence, computer vision, and many other skills that we talk about bringing together. And we're now seeing significant projects where the combination of those technologies all together grouped as intelligent automation is delivering real value. So I think it's moving, if you say RPA is mature, intelligent automation, which is the next generation or the next generation on, I think is now moving in a phase of industrialization where clients are saying, this is not experimental technology. This is now something I know I can get results with by using it in my enterprise. And there are a lot of very good examples and use cases of where this is happening exactly.
Okay, this is a good point, because I'm sure many of the people attending this meeting will be interested in knowing about cases. No, many of them have already probably experienced, or the ones are looking around. So I would like to ask you, starting with Ioan, about what cases are you working on specifically, no, and what kind of problems, no, or opportunities you were looking for.
Well, it's when you look in the industry and in the utility industry, there's a lot of processes that are dealing still with a lot of paperwork, at least for Eastern Europe, because in Western Europe the situation is a little bit different. But for Eastern Europe, we are processing, as in banking, a lot of documents all day long. So the main cases that we treated until now, and we succeeded with them, are cases where we managed to mix different technologies from capturing images, optical character recognition on the images, and then of course processing all the data between different systems in the architecture. This is something that we focused at the beginning, and they were the biggest successes until now, because it's producing a lot of quality data. First of all this information which was lagging before, and second of all, as mentioned, it's reducing the stress on the people, and also it fasten up the processes. So we managed to, but we are trying actually, and we did with this, it managed to scale up our operations without involving new people and without increasing our costs with these technologies.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's awesome. Now, in my case, and I will speak also from my experience, the opportunity, or what triggered also the need, no, for the transformation of the contact centers is something that I'm seeing in many other customers, is that basically calls take too long. No, whatever the reason is, you pick up the phone, call a call center, and you don't know why. It takes a lot of time, and something that I don't like. I don't like it. No, so they are we saw that, and there were different ways to solve that. No, one way was also to develop a new CRM, a new system, etc., that could deal with the complexity coming from legacies, portfolios, many different systems that you have to attack, etc. Or what we did, basically we developed a solution consisting of a portal, something like a layer, no, that interacts with the user, with the agent, no, and also takes feedings or inputs from other channels, like for instance, click to call, etc. And once you get them, those inputs, that triggers different automations, no, with an end-to-end perspective. So basically, we are transforming the processes. Most of the daily activities that a customer agent will do, like asking or solving questions about bills, sending invoices, no, activating, canceling services, changing contract conditions, opening or monitoring claims, etc. But with a new system that overarches the existing ones, no, with the objective of reducing the time. So we are always trying to pre-process things, no, and be always 1 or 2 steps ahead what is coming next. No, that's the way, and that's how we are reducing the length of the course, the duration, and therefore delivering some efficiencies and some savings. Martin, you have also more broader perspective, since you also talked to me. You know what we have been doing, you know what Ioan has been doing, but without respecting also the confidentiality from other customers. What do you think are the hot cases or things that are really now coming or are hot topics today?
Yeah, and I want to say 2 things really. First of all, just as an addition to what you described, our client Telefonica Spain in this example, they have a great way of explaining why they're doing what they're doing, and that is, they say, we are moving the complexity away from the customer, making us easy to deal with, to do business with, but taking the complexity away from the customer. And I think that's a really important objective that they, in the case of Telefonica, have solved through the help that you've given them. So I think that's a really important point for people to kind of consider for a moment, you know, as one of the outcomes of doing this. But to come back to the question you asked me specifically, there are a number of clients that I work with in the telco sector who are really applying the intelligent automation technology to solve big volume issues of communication. So, for example, we have one particular client who is receiving over 5 million emails a day from customers, and those emails range from everything from, you know, a billing inquiry, maybe cancelling of service or a complaint, and anything and everything in between. And all of these emails are coming in, and in 2 cases I can think of very clearly where those kind of volumes are being dealt with. They're using the technology to, first of all, read the document and make an intelligent set of assertions as to what the purpose of the email is, or what the purpose of the letter is, and then using intelligent automation. So first of all, using intelligent automation to read and analyze, then figuring out where that communication needs to go. Does it need to go to complaints? Does it need to go to billing? You know, does it need to go to customer services? Does it need to go to provisioning, etc.? And keeping a track of everything as well, because that is something that's super important in many of the industries, in industry, in banking, in our industry of telco. You know, having a good record of everything that's been taking place in that communication, how you dealt with it, what you said, when you said it, and that kind of thing. That's almost a byproduct of using intelligent automation to do that. So we've got, you know, reading, analyzing, making decisions. Obviously, where it doesn't feel it has the system, as it were, doesn't feel it has the confidence that the decision it's made about what to do with a document or an email is correct, it'll then push it to a human. So humans are still in the process, but more dealing with the exceptions and the more difficult questions rather than all of the very straightforward issues. So, as I said, got a number of telco clients using this kind of approach at scale. In one case, it's for all of their consumer customers. In another, it's for all of their B2B customers. So, there's some examples of how a whole continuum of communication can be transformed using intelligent automation.
Oh, excellent. You wanted to add anything?
Yeah, I wanted to add something because Martin raised an interesting topic. We have this project now on working with we call it email dispatching, and it's exactly what Martin explained it to you. And we at this point we have a big layer of people just doing email dispatching and just opening emails, reading them, and then sending to somebody to solve it. So imagine the work that they are doing day in and day out. And as Martin said, we are using artificial intelligence, document reading technology, and learning how to distribute the emails through around 60 categories at this point. And I wanted to point another thing connected to this. The challenge when we started this project, and this is a challenge when we do all this stuff around automation, is how you deal with the existing processes, how you try to optimize what you already have and not go into the existing complexity. Because as an example, when we started this email dispatching project, we started with 300 type of cases. And we realized that it's impossible to go that far, and we managed to simplify the processes in the organization to 50, for example, 50 cases of email. So that was the biggest chunk of work, just to streamline the process, get it simplified, and then we are working now on doing this implementation, as Martin said.
And how did you do that prioritization? Because probably if you had asked the people from the customer channel, they will have probably different priorities, to yours, And you're also looking as digital and IT director. You also care of the scalability, the how stable also the system, etc., and how should interact with the complexity that you have to deal with.
Yeah. So simple answer is data. So every decision, every process that we are looking at, we are trying to look at it from a data perspective. And when you see in a history of events that you have a lot of examples where there's no case or it's a low usage, then you can really make people aware of the fact that you can simplify a lot the processes because you have the data on your hand to showcase this topic. So all the time we try to base everything on the historical data that we have and show people, because this is a topic of change management actually when we start to go into this type of processes. And of course it's hard because people are working since years in this type of processes. They are optimized up to a certain point, they work through it, and now you come here and you do the smart ass thing when you say, I can bring more optimization in your processes. And of course, people are not responding really well from the beginning to these changes. So you have to show them data, you have to show them the process, the progress that they can do. And all the time we try to base our decisions on data.
So you basically...
If I can come in on that, Enrique, I think just to pick up on Ioan's point, several points there. Why do this? And there's probably three main areas of benefit that clients are achieving through taking this approach. One is taking cost out of the business.
Yes.
First and foremost. Secondly, it's about improving the customer experience because you're able to get this communication, whichever form it comes in, whether it be through the call center or through email or through written documents or through chatbots even. You're able to get that to the right people with the right context very, very quickly and able then to turn around the customer issue much more quickly. And that has a very, very immediate and positive effect on net promoter scores and customer satisfaction, and we're seeing that a lot. If I may, I'd just like to mention one of my favorite examples of a project, and this is in Brazil, and it's a telco, of course, and they were receiving into their network operations center between 800,000 and 1 million contacts, calls, which turned into trouble tickets per month, nearly 1 million per month. And these were all of the problems with the network, whether it be, my equipment isn't working, there seems to be, it seems to be slow, or whatever it might be. And what they used to do was turn everything into a trouble ticket and then try and assign an engineer. And then the engineer, the human, very skilled, very educated, very capable engineer would determine what the problem is and what the resolution needed to be. And what they undertook as a project, and this project was delivered in 6 months, was to put in what they called a triage system, where everything that came in, first of all, hit the digital workers, and the digital workers working with AI and machine learning would determine, A, is this a problem that is a known issue and very easily resolved? Can I send a text, an email, or some other, or, can I call them to say, this is how you fix your issue, number one. Number two, yes, this is definitely a problem. We need to dispatch an engineer straight away. Or number three, I'm not sure. This could be a problem or it might not. So therefore needs to go to an engineer for assessment. And they, as I say, they delivered that. This is a huge scale program, but they delivered that in 6 months. And their immediate findings were, well, after 6 months, they looked at the ROI of this program. First of all, they'd reduced their costs by 15%. And secondly, they'd seen a +5 net promoter score increase just in those first few months. But the big surprise to them was the increase in employee engagement and employee satisfaction, because the engineers were finding that instead of being given a range of tasks or a range of problems to look at that could be everything from the complex to the ridiculously simple, they were being given quality work to do that enabled them to use their skills and expertise to help the customer. So they felt more valued, more productive. And as I said, they actually saw a 15-point increase in employee engagement in 6 months, which is incredible. And that was all put together, as I said, in 6 months using digital workers and machine learning and AI. So a great use case.
That's awesome. Well, just that you mentioned, we are processing like 400,000 emails monthly. But the figure you mentioned is also significant. And we are also following the same approach that that we are using in the enterprise segment, also identifying the intent, and according to the intent, displaying already a window or conducting the agent throughout that process, pre-processing on the information that is going to be needed. No, but we can discuss separately, privately about that also. It will also open up a different angle, no? Because we are talking about the many benefits, many cases we can work on, and basically the limit is many cases just the imagination, no? Considering that we can combine with this very malleable technology, but what are the constraints or the limitations or the problems that, for instance, you, Ioan, have encountered, and how you solve them?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can solve things, but you need some iterations. No, things don't happen at the first attempt. No.
Honestly, from my experience, when the hardest times were when we tried to do this type of projects in a shifting environment. So, for example, we started a few of these projects while we were migrating to CRM processes, and I know that was a hard time to work because everything was moving. It was hard to really keep track with all the changes. We were in a situation where we implemented something and needed a lot of changes afterwards. So I think the main topic is here that this is working ideally when there's a little bit of stability in the processes and in the systems that you are trying to this technology. The second challenge that we touched is, as mentioned before, is the change management, because it's hard still to explain to people the benefits that we are trying to do with this. There's still this fear in people that these technologies will replace their current work, and they will not have what to do after we do this type of smart technologies. So you have to work a lot with people to make them open up, to talk about processes, to show them that, as was mentioned before in the Brazil example, yeah, it will get their satisfaction. So the idea is that we are not trying to cut people out, but we are trying to improve their way of working and their life basically at the office. So these two challenges, I think, were the hardest until now. So yeah, otherwise, honestly, to say from a perspective of management or stakeholders, it's really catchy, this processes these days, honestly. So if you go with machine learning, artificial intelligence, RPA, people are really open because everybody knows that this is what we need to do right now. So this stakeholder management, it's really easy in this topic, for at least from my point of view. But again, when you reach the people who are experiencing processes, there's the battle to explain and the benefits.
That's cool. So if you allow me, I will share also with you also some of the obstacles and how we overcame them. Now, as I explained before, what we have delivered is a solution that works in real time. That is some sort of looks like a CRM, works like a CRM. Okay, so what we do is we need to bring information from many different systems and show it to the agent in real time already with some calculations, some stuff already pre-processed. So it's just a matter of milliseconds because we might have someone on the line waiting, a customer. So first thing we did also to extract that information, we basically do everything through web services and HTTP requests. No, that's the way to extract information very quickly in a matter of milliseconds, and then prompt it to the agent or process it. The second problem came that it caused certain euphoria, no? And once Telefonica saw that and thought, okay, I want to bring this information from here, etc., blah, blah, blah. So there was like an endless requirement from a functional perspective that ended up with more than 250 data points when it came to the legacies and 250 data points when it came to the new system. They are like maneuvering or maintaining two different systems, no? Which is, this number has increased. So when you think about 270 data points to be extracted from different systems with HTTP requests, and you multiply that by the number of calls that we received, for instance, in the COVID situation with the lockup, no, in March and April, in many cases with 10 calls per second, no, or in some cases 40,000 calls, 50,000 calls per hour. You multiply that, and that's a phenomenal amount of data of items to be processed in the queues, no, of the databases, no, and that's a lot of complexity. So we finally had to, apart from talking also on empowering the solutions, no, and working also elbow with elbow with the guys from BluePrism, no, we had to develop like multi-thread code or approach in order to parallelize all that requirements, no, and work them in parallel. No, that was the way to speed up and cope up with that phenomenal number of information to be processed. No, and that worked. No, and it's working now. No, and probably also talking about problems, this is not a problem by itself. No, it's some. You mentioned that before, Ioan, is the reluctance, initial reluctance from some areas, some disbelief, I must say that I'm very glad that you are representing the IT side, because sometimes they see they're a threat, no? And they tend to think of many of these emerging technologies as a patch, no, of the existing problems of the solutions. They say, no, this is something that shouldn't be considered as a long time or mid-term solution, no. But I see that you are also taking a different approach, which I'm very glad to hear, no.
It's not easy, but yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So for the people to understand, because it's not let's say on a small project, it's not rocket science. But when you get to these examples that you have, so enterprise-wide projects, really huge numbers, it gets really complicated. Also in the IT architecture, how you move data between systems, how you collect all the data points. So it's not an easy task there when you get there, but it's yeah. Also having this IT part, it's a fun job there.
No, I see that. No, I probably one of the conclusions or the different what differentiates one approach another one is that when you came to solve a problem with an open mind, you just look for whatever you have in order to solve that. If you just came with an RPA approach, probably you are leaving things aside that probably, if you put them into the equation, will produce a better impact. No, if you're approaching a problem just with a machine learning approach or a chatbot approach, in many cases you will have different obstacles. But if what you want to do is play what you have at your reach, then you can have a better impact. No, that's also, I think, the magic of this.
I think that's a great way to view this, Enrique. That when you're delivering transformation, whether it be digital transformation, customer transformation, whatever it might be, it is a combination of technologies. So this is not an alternative to the big system packaged approach, building APIs. All of that still is super important and should be the backbone of the strategy. But what we have with intelligent automation is an additional capability that the organization can use to provide solutions, whether they be temporary solutions or in many cases, strategic solutions that work with the other technologies that you have. So just see it as a new area of technology that you can use to deliver real transformation alongside everything else you need to deliver transformation with. But we are now, I think, and it goes back to your first question, really, in terms of maturity. We're now at a stage where this technology set is very mature and has proven that it can deliver very compelling business value. I have a great example of one of our clients in their B2B business. They have achieved a 39% reduction in operating cost in 6 months. I'll just say that again. 39% reduction in operating cost in 6 months. That gets the attention of the board, of the CEO, the CFO, especially the CFO, when he or she says, what is your transformation program? Deliver ROI to me now. Don't promise it in 3 years. I want it now. Or I might wait 6 months. And by the way, I'm not going to give you €1 billion to do it with. You need to do it with something a bit more sensible. So this is, it is a...
Sounds very familiar to me.
Yes, it should sound very familiar to you. It's now proven at scale. And that's the important thing. You mentioned Telefonica with their consumer contact centers, 6,000 agents at peak processing 40,000 plus calls per hour. This stuff now works and it's delivering impactful value of the type that we described. So, but it's not a threat. It's not an alternative. And the final comment I wanted to make is that the key to success is a partnership between the business and IT. It's not either or. It's a partnership. The business understands the business processes and the business priorities much, much better. And the IT guys know how to deliver this safely, securely, very important, in a compliant way, so that you make sure your auditors and the different agencies that govern the businesses we all work in, that you meet the requirements. That's really, really important, and that's why it is a true partnership. between IT and the business.
Absolutely agree with that. No, so we are approaching the end of the discussion, but I would like to look at the future, what's coming next. No, so what do you think? How do you see this set of emerging technologies in 2 years or in 4 years' time? What can be achieved with that? No? Ioan?
Well, really hard to answer to this question. You see, everything is changing quite rapidly, and the tool set is keep expanding, and there's new technology every other day, and you get new things on the market. So it's really hard to say what will be in 5 years' time. So it's clear that this will continue, and hopefully the machine learning, artificial intelligence will really take off and really scale in all the organizations, because this will bring a new set of really understanding the businesses, the data, the customers, and really get you to the next level. Because right now, at least from my experience, I know that there are companies which are much more advanced in this. I'm not thinking of the big players in this topic, but in our case, I know that we are at the beginning of this journey still, and there's a lot more to discover, and then really explore it and grow further. But for sure, this is the direction right now. Hard to say 5 years from now how it will look, honestly.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it's difficult to say because it's changing very fast. And things that maybe 1 year ago didn't seem so easy to be done, now we're seeing that it can be done using this. For instance, we were asked at some point, one of the things that we do, for instance, or we have helped the agents to work with, is to activate or cancel services. So when they get, for instance, think about an agent working at the business segment. So he's responsible for an account having different lines, and many of these lines belong to different contracts or different tariff plans. Each of them having different contract conditions, different dependencies, different limitations. So when they have to activate a service on one line, they used to have or to need a lot of knowledge about the commercial offer, the contract condition of that customer, what limitations, dependencies, etc. No? Of that logic, of that business rules, you can put them into the solution. So, and it works for you, and it only shows to you what you can do, and also what you have to cancel in order to make that service compatible. That's already there, no? But at some point when we deliver that, and they say, this is great, this is cool, but this customer asked me to do these 2 activations, but these other 2 asked me to do them in 2 days. And we told them, great, jot them down, put it in the agenda and do it. Say, no, because in 2 days I won't be working. I have a day off and I don't want to lose those sales. So why don't you develop something that can work like an agenda or do it automatically in 2 days' time or in 1 month time or whatever, no? So you start adding complexity from business rules depending on time, deadlines, etc. No, we refused to do that, but in the end we had to give in, and we are doing that. And well, it has opened now to us different things or different functionalities. This is celebrated by the business, took us some work, endless discussions, but once that we have shown that it can be done, well, there are many other things that now come into our attention and come also onto the decision table. No? Martin.
Yeah, and I think Ioan is right. It's really difficult to predict how it's going to look in 5 years. I think I'd like to maybe make it 18 months to 24 months, which is a little bit more predictable. But I think three things, and they're all kind of related in a continuum. First point, we will see the technology becoming much easier to use, much more powerful, much easier to integrate, and I think we'll see that continue. That is always the way with technology anyway. But we'll see that more and more, where you're able to really plug and play lots of different technologies to build really interesting outcomes for your business. Point number 2, I think and we're seeing evidence of this happen right now. Companies who to date have maybe looked at how do I use intelligent automation internally to solve my big business challenges are starting to look at how do I use intelligent automation towards my customers or towards my my outward facing business. How do I offer intelligent automation services to my customers? And I think my final kind of point on the continuum is we are not too far away from delivering true touchless operations. And I think in the world of 5G, in the telco world, that's 5G is driving a massive revolution, and we're going to see the real importance of touchless operations, and that is you might have a customer system says it has an issue, it reports it to the telco, and the telco systems works out what the diagnosis is and triggers the response, and the telco systems then goes fixes the problem. No human intervention. And I think that is the vision for one aspect of intelligent automation. Humans can then focus on the things we're really good at, which is decision making, communication, collaboration, building relationships. That's the really great bit, and we can leave that, those touchless operations to be delivered by computers. And a great example of that happening today is at Nokia, where they're doing exactly that through their whole supply chain and procurement. They've delivered touchless operations using intelligent automation. So I think that's the vision. I think that becomes the norm in 18 to 24 months. But that's just my opinion for now.
Okay. And Ioan, because here that you're also working and representing the digital, but also the IT, don't you think that in many cases they could help traditional IT developments? Some of them could be maybe paralyzed or supported or enhanced, by the combination of some of these technologies.
Yeah, you're right. So it's as I said, the things get a little bit complicated at the beginning when you start to put it all together. But for sure, there's also a shift of mentality here on the development of applications, on the development of integration of systems, looking also from this perspective. So what we tried to change in the last, let's say, 1.5 to 2 years, is this perspective of really shifting the mentality of implementing just solution for the sake of having IT applications in the architecture, but moving towards more business value. For example, just a simple example, my colleagues in the IT departments have also targets on business KPIs. So for example, when we are implementing RPAs, we do not put KPIs for our developers and people in this area of implementing 1 or 2 robots, but the KPIs for them are also the benefits in the business. So we are trying to move much more from a traditional IT organization towards a business organization, basically an IT inside the organization. So that's why we tried to put this kind of targets on our people, but business targets, not IT targets. So they understand why they're doing this, to understand that they have to think of solutions, not just implement, as was said before, on RPA for the sake of having the RPA, but really think of which is the best solution from the toolbox to solve the business issue or the customer problem.
Fantastic. Yeah. So one final question to each of you. Name a wish for the end of this year and the year after. So, Ioan.
Any wish?
Any wish you want. You can name 3 if you want.
Seriously, this was a strange year for everybody, so for the entire world, and I have to say so. We need to wish for better times now, and for this madness to get to let's say a resolution point. I don't know if it will be stopped or not, but at least to have a resolution and to see how we progress. What I can say is that we think of the way we are going to get out of this pandemic situation that we are in, how we are going to redress the businesses, because most of the businesses were impacted in a way or other. So I'm just honestly wishing that things get better and we manage to put in the fit a lot of the things that went wrong this year. Yeah.
Martin, your turn.
Yeah, well,
The Jenny in the lamp.
Not too different from you, and I just hope we get to the end, or at least a stable state with the current, with the pandemic, and I hope we've seen a lot of very rapid response using technology to a crisis. I hope we learn from that and learn to apply the, if you like, what we've learned from applying technologies in a crisis to our new ways of working, and that we just extend that and learn more. And I think my kind of final part of that wish, or my third wish of three, is that we don't forget the value of human interaction and human relationships that I think we've all missed significantly. I can't wait to get back to Madrid and see you for a beer, Enrique. But
you pay.
Of course, I always am. But no, I think that human thing that we've all had taken away from us, both with our customers, but also in some cases with our families and our friends. I hope we all remember how good it is to have that human interaction and human touch, as it were, and that we value that more, because goodness knows the world needs that right now.
I totally agree with you both. So let's hope that it works and we end up with this sooner than later, but better than we are.
Absolutely.
Okay. So guys, thank you very much for your time, for your explanations, and for sharing that with us. And wish you all the best, for this year and the year after. Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks. Thanks, Ioan. Bye, Enrique.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye.